Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about super warm, fiery orange and red tone palettes. That's right, 2017 was of course all about that orange and red tone, and I'm not exactly sure where it got started, but I think that Morphe's 350 and the Lime Crime Venus palette, I think those are some of the OG palettes that really got this trend started. So today I have 4 palettes that I'd like to talk to you about that fall into this category according to myself, and I'm going to talk you through what type of palette you might be looking into if you want to buy a warm tone palette, which one would be right for you, because I do think that not every single warm tone palette equals the other. So let's just get to it. Palettes I will be talking to you about today are the Too Faced Sweet Peach, the infamous Modern Renaissance by Anastasia, and the Urban Decay Naked Heat. And I also have Tarte Tartelettes Toasted for you. And I'm going to go through these in the order in which I bought them, which is also, I think, the order in which they were released. So let's just get started with the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. Now, this started as a limited edition palette, and then it came back and was made permanent. I bought mine when everybody thought this was still going to be a limited edition palette, and I have heard people talk about this palette not being as good now that it's permanent. It seems to be a batch difference, and that the first batch was better than the later batches. I don't know, I only have this one, and the quality of this is very much in line with other Too Faced palettes that I have. This is what the Sweet Peach looks like. One of the complaints a lot of people had about the Sweet Peach was that it wasn't very peach, because you only get 2 or 3 truly peachy shades. That being said, however, I find that even the shades that aren't straight up peach in this do have a peachy, orangey, apricot undertone to it. So it always has this like peachy look to it, which again, that has to suit your skin tone very much, I find. I mean, for instance, even this green right here has this like golden peachiness to it. So that is something that you should know about this palette. Plus, it has that Too Faced scented thing to it. In this case, it's Haribo Peach Candy, which, I don't know about you, isn't exactly my favorite. So if you're very sensitive to smells, this is again something that you have to take into account. In the Too Faced palette, you get 18 shades, which is more than any of the other palettes that I will be showing you today. In total, you get 17.1 grams of product in this, and this retails for about $49 or euros. Then I think the craze of 2016 is Anastasia's Modern Renaissance palette. And I do have to say that I get the hype, I definitely do. However, if you cover up those pops of red and orange, this is a very, very boring palette, in my opinion. Which is probably why so many people like it, because you have a lot of good neutrals to work with on a daily basis. It is very warm tone though, and out of all of the palettes I'm showing you today, there's the least amount of product. This has 0.7 grams per pan, and there are 14 shades in this palette, so that is the least of any of the palettes that I'm showing you today. A couple of things that you should know about this palette is that you don't get a lot of product in these, plus Anastasia eyeshadows are quite soft and they do kick up a little bit of powder. I find the formula of this very similar to the Lorac palettes, which also have this like powdery kick up to them. This is probably the reason why so many people pan this palette so quickly. In my case, I haven't used this enough to really hit pan, but some of the shades that I do get a lot of use out of, such as Vermeer here, does already have a bit of a dent in it. So then the third palette I would like to talk to you about is the Urban Decay Naked Heat. This came out last summer in 2017. In here you get 12 shades, and most of these are mattes. That was something a lot of people were happy about, because before that, most of the eyeshadows Urban Decay put in their naked palettes were shimmers. So this has more matte than shimmer, so that is something good to know about this. This also has quite a bit of product in it. It has 1.7 grams of product in each pan, which totals it up to roughly 15 grams of product, which is great. You get some good neutrals right here at the bottom, which are all matte. We also get some fun like reddish shades right here. There aren't too many super dark shades in this palette, so that's something that you may want to take into account when you are looking into this. Out of all of these palettes, this is also the most expensive. And then last but not least, the last warm tone palette that I got, and that was also released, is the Tarte Tartelette Toasted. This came out last fall, and I think this is the, well, again, when it comes to price point, this is one of the more affordable ones, because this retails for around 45 euros, and you get the most amount of product in these, which is 18 grams of product. You get 12 pans. And so out of all of these palettes, you do get a lot more for your money, so that's good. As with all of the other Tartelette palettes, there are 3 rows, and each row has like a distinct look to it. There are more textures in this than some of the other Tartelette palettes, which again, some people don't love, but I personally do like that. So those are the 4 palettes I would like to show you, and in this part of the video, I'd like to talk to you about some of the shades that I love, what I'm wearing on my eyes today, and also talk a little bit about the quality, and sort of, and then I will round off by saying which one is best for which occasion. Funnily enough, I like reaching for each one of these palettes at different times in the year. These palettes are very seasonal to me, funnily enough, which in none of the palette videos I've done so far, that has been sort of like a thing. The Sweet Peach, to me, is a perfect spring palette. This, to me, has some really nice, soft, neutrally shades, and it's just a palette that I like to reach for when it is like nicer weather. I don't really go for any of these like darker shades at the top, but I definitely like sort of the palette from these rows down, and then you can make these really nice, almost pastel-y looks, which I like. I like the green here for a bit of a pop of color on the lower lash line, and I really like this puree shade, and that's what I'm wearing as a transition shade on my eyes today. Bellini is a great one. That is in my eye look in the like innermost third part of my lower lash line. Luscious is my inner corner highlight today, which is probably a standout shade in this palette. You get some really nice mattes here at the bottom. I especially like Georgia. I like Nectar, which is right here, which is a bit more golden. Candied Peach is like a satiny shade with some added glitter to it, which isn't my favorite. If you do want to go for a really nice peachy shade, then Just Peachy is probably the best one. I like how you do get some dark shades right here at the top. This is a nice palette to make some versatile looks, go a bit more smoky, go a bit more neutral. That's definitely something you can do with this. Now then, the Modern Renaissance. I already told you that I really like the reds and the pink in here. This is a palette I reach for in the fall time. My go-to look last fall was a bit of, I think, red ochre in the crease, and then I put Love Letter all over the lid with like a very fluffy brush, so that you get this like very sort of like faded gradient of color, and it just kind of like smokes out, and then Venetian red on the lower lash line. I'm also wearing Venetian red on the lower lash line today, and I put a little bit of antique bronze in my outer V. Antique Bronze is my other favorite shade in this palette, because I think this ties in the look very nicely. So if you feel your look is becoming a bit more red and you want to darken it up a little bit, then I think Antique Bronze has the ability to do that. I really like the shimmers here as well, Vermeer and Primavera. This is a bit more golden, this is a bit more champagne. I prefer Vermeer though, and Tempera is a really nice brow bone shade. I don't really get the science behind Raw Sienna and Burnt Orange. To me, these look almost identical, especially when I apply them to the lid, but these do work really nice in the crease. So that's also something, if you want to go a little bit more neutral and really want to make those reds pop, then I can pull those in as well. The only shades I never use are these two at the bottom. So Real Gar and Warm Taupe hardly get any use from me. Cypress Umber is a great one if you want to add a little bit of a liner. We've had spring, we've had fall. Guess what I use in the summertime? Urban Decay Naked Heat. This to me is very, very red toned, which looks really nice with my eyes. I have brown eyes, but with a little bit of red or contrasting colors, they can pull a little bit more green, and this definitely does that for me. However, I feel that the colors are pretty red, and that's my gripe with most of the palettes I'm showing you today. If I wear them on its own, it can make me look quite sick, especially if I'm pale, as I am right now. I'm wearing Ounce today as my brow bone highlight, and I've used Sauced to blend out my transition color. And let me see, I think I used Ember. Yes, I used Ember as a bit of like liner on my upper lash, on my upper lid. So I do really like the shades in here. You get some really nice neutrals. So if you want to go for like just a simple neutral matte look, you can do this. A lot of the shades in here are very similar in undertone, so you don't get a lot of versatility with this. However, in the summertime, if I do want to have that like boom look to my eye look, then this is a great one to try. And I really like Dirty Talk or Scorch for doing that. Then last but not least, the Tartelette Toasted Palette. I think if you want a warm tone palette that is great for fair skin gals in the winter time, or that is a little bit more neutral, then this is a good one to try. And the reason why I say that is that this is definitely, out of all the palettes I'm showing you today, the least in your face. The Too Faced one is very peachy. The Modern Renaissance, I really love those reds, and also Naked Heat is very red. This kind of keeps middle ground in all of the warm tone spectrum that you could do. This is a very sort of fiery palette if you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be, which is why I think I prefer this one over some of the others, because it's so easy and basic to use, which is the reason why I loved the Tartelette in Bloom, and that's the reason why I like this as well. I'm wearing Flame, I think it's called. Yeah, Flame today, all over my lid. That is the best shade in this palette. And I also use a little bit of Cozy to darken up the lower lash a little bit, because just Venetian red is a little bit too red, I find. And this also has this like reddish undertone to it. So I find those two pair well. All of the shimmers in here, which is mainly this row, are gorgeous. This one right here, let me see what it's called. It's Candle. It's a little bit chunky, so that's something you have to be very careful with. However, I've been using this in my inner corner, and I absolutely love the look of that. It's got some good mattes, some good transitions. Again, you can stay in your lane if you want. So if you're new to makeup and you want warm tones, then this is a great one to get started. I feel especially some of the other palettes, you need to know a little bit better how you can pair things together in order to make those work for you. But this palette lays it all out, so if you're a beginner, this might be good. So who do I think the Too Faced Sweet Peach is right for? Well, I think that if you like Too Faced quality of shadows, then this is a great one to try. It has a lot of options that you can use. I think in terms of versatility, this definitely does it for you. So if you're looking for a palette that can do it all, then this is something you can look into. But I do want to warn you again, there seems to be a difference in batches. I'm not sure whether they've solved it by now, but yeah, there seems to be a quality difference between earlier and later batches. Then the Modern Renaissance, I think this is right for you if you are a little bit more advanced. I definitely had to get used to this more powdery formula when I started using it. And that's why I don't like this all that much, because I like my shadows to be a bit more densely packed. With this, all you need is to tap your brush in, and then you can do pretty much everything. However, I have only been using this in the fall time when I was really digging those red shades. And that's about it. This is not a palette I reach for a lot. I know, blasphemy, everybody loves this, but this isn't my go-to palette at all. In the fall time, yes, but not the entire year. So if you are new to makeup, I would say stay away from this. If you're looking for a neutral palette that can give you a little bit more, this is definitely something to get into. Then Naked Heat, I think that you will really enjoy this if you like a good red tone. And I think especially if you have more of like an olive tone skin tone, if you're a little bit darker than me, that this is a very nice go-to warm tone palette. I think that Urban Decay definitely stepped up their game with this, and I really like it. But like I said, this is a little bit too dark and red for my skin tone to be wearing all year round, even though I do really like the quality of this palette, and it's not super versatile. You definitely have to pull in a dark brown or maybe a matte black in order to really give some depth and definition to your eyes when you use this. And to be buying a palette because it has 4 very great neutral shades, if you're looking for that, then I think you need to hold out for the new Petite Heat that's coming out. Then we have Tartelette Toasted, and I think this is very beginner friendly. Like I said, you also get a lot of product for your price point, so if that's something that you find very important, then this is definitely something to get into. And I also think that if you're fair skinned and if you want to wear a warm toned eye look, that this is probably the easiest to use because it doesn't make you look like you just came back from the dead, which some of these other palettes, if I use them in the wrong way, it can just really look like that. So there you have it, 4 fiery red and orange toned eyeshadow palettes that I think are great for different times in the year and for different people who are looking for different things in their eyeshadow palettes. You don't have to have all of these things by any means. I just really like doing these videos. I love eyeshadow. I love trying new formulas. I love trying new colors on my face and see what looks good. So yeah, but that's just me. That doesn't have to be you. So please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. It would be great if I could get your feedback, because it really helps to get my videos out there. And please subscribe, because I make new videos every single week. I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!